Oh,
Hi.
there we
Good.
go. All right.
Okay. Hi, we're here. Awesome. Thanks for hanging in there while we were figuring things out. We got it going. So, yeah, Mel, you asked, what's everyone having for breakfast today? We always love to hear that. You are probably wondering where Terrence is. He's at home with the kiddos. And it's me today. Yay, I'm so excited to be here. But welcome to Freedom Church. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Hi, Mel. Um, I have a couple of announcements. I guess I'll go ahead. We probably used up the time for people to join in by starting late. So I'll go ahead and jump right into announcements here. If you like to stay updated on this YouTube channel, the things we have going on here, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. And you can also go to freedomchurch.com/interest. And I believe that's to sign up for a email list so you can stay updated on the things we have going on. Taco salad for breakfast. That sounds awesome. I had coffee this morning for breakfast. Also, another announcement, kids event. We have our Kids Connect event coming up on August 1st. Registration for that is still open. There are a limited number of spaces, but if you have a kid, this is for kids ages 4 until grade 5. If you have a kid in that age range, we'd love to see them there. Registration, like I said, is open, and the event is on August 1st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And if you are interested in that, please, the link is in the chat there will be in the chat. Maybe it won't be. That's the email list link. Okay. But I think it'll be in the chat. And the outdoor service. Okay, folks, we're so excited about this. Next Sunday, we are going to be in person outside next Sunday, July 19th. We're all going to be there. We're so thrilled about this. We're going to have donuts and coffee. Be sure to bring your own lawn chair or blanket, whatever you want to sit on. It's going to be awesome. We're so excited about it. We get to actually be in person for the first time, and it's really, really, really exciting. So please, let's see. Do we have more information on the location and everything? Normally, I'm just gonna say normally Terrence gives the announcements. So, oh, Evie. Hi, Evie. So next week, the church service will get the information to you by the end of this, or tell you how to get it on the location. But it's in St. Michael, and we're very excited. Next, it's in an email. Thank you, Jane. Yes, you guys have the. Yes, I just saw the email. Wow, I'm sorry. That lag in the beginning must have thrown me off. Okay. Yes, we sent an email. You have it. If you have questions, please put it in the chat. We will get you all the information that you need. Next Sunday, in person. Bring a chair, bring a blanket. I believe we are still going to be live streaming as well. If you are not comfortable or not able to attend in person, we will still have it on the live stream. No, Jane, that's okay. We'll have, I think Mel or somebody will post it. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. I do know what's going on. Wow. Oh, cute. Yep, it's in your home, Willow. Not in your home, but in your hometown. Anyway, we are going to be doing communion at the end of this service, so make sure you have a little bit of your taco salad left or whatever you had for breakfast to take communion with, and we're excited about that. So, and if you are just now tuning in, Terrence is at home with the kiddos today, and it's me this morning. So I hope you're ready and excited for church. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. We just got back from vacation all week in the Black Hills, which was totally amazing. There was like no cell phone service. My notification popped up on my phone this morning that said that my cell phone usage was down by like a lot of percentage. I was like, yes, that's what living in the hills for a week will do for you. So we're excited to be back this morning, and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and just start right here. I'm going to start with Acts chapter 17, verses 16 through 21. So if you want to follow along, this is Acts 17. And I'm going to be reading out of the Passion Translation. So in verse 16, while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, his spirit, Paul was waiting in Athens for Silas and Timothy and his friends to, there's the information on there. Yay. So while in Athens, Paul was waiting in Athens for his friends to come back. They had been in a different part of the world or whatever, and they were coming. So he was waiting in Athens for them to arrive. So while he was there, his spirit was deeply troubled when he realized that the entire city was full of idols. He argued the claims of the gospel with the Jews in their meeting house and with those who were worshipers of God. And every day he preached in the public square with whoever would listen. Philosophers of the teachings of Epicurus and others called Stoics debated with Paul. When they heard him speak about Jesus and his resurrection, they said, "What strange ideas is this babbler trying to present?" Others said, "He's peddling some kind of foreign religion." So they brought him for a public dialogue before the leadership council of Athens, known as the Areopagus. Now, a little note on this was the Areopagus was a governing body of intellectuals who were the overseers of Athens. It was equivalent to the Board of Education, the City Council, the Ethics Committee, and the Council of Foreign Relations and leaders of the religious and philosophical community all rolled into one thing. It was also known as Mars Hill, and it was not simply a location, but more of a gathering of a council of people overseeing the spiritual atmosphere of Athens. It could be described as the Greek temple of human thought. And so this was like a big deal. This is where the philosophers sat and discussed ideas. Athens actually at one point was known as the birthplace of Western idea and Western mindset and our Western thought. And so it was where, and if you've ever read like Plato and Socrates, that's like where they were and all these philosophers. And it's fascinating stuff, honestly, what these guys came up with. Like it's really cool. But so they brought Paul to this place and they said, "Tell us about this new teaching that you're bringing to our city. You're presenting strange and astonishing things to our ears, and we want to know what it all means." Now, it was the favorite pastime of the Athenians and visitors to Athens to discuss the newest ideas and philosophies. So Paul goes before these thinkers, these elite thinkers of their time, right? He comes before them and he begins to share the gospel with them. He begins to share Jesus. And what is cool, he quotes Greek philosophers at some point during the process of sharing the gospel with them, which I found really significant because he found a connection point with them, right? As he was sharing the gospel, he found a connecting point that would make him more relatable, that he became more relatable to the people that he was speaking to. And this is honestly so important. And I'm not going to get on a rabbit trail here, but he adapted himself in how he presented the gospel to the culture that he was in, right? Instead of adapting the culture to what he was trying to preach, okay? And this is a whole thing on its own, but this is so powerful because he adapted himself and he found a connecting point to bring the message of the gospel to these thinkers. And by quoting even these philosophers that these other people probably appreciated and looked up to in some capacity, he made that relatable and he made himself like, I can connect with you on this level. And what's interesting is at the end, when he got to the resurrection of Jesus, some were like, "Okay, I've had enough. This is crazy," and they left. But I love this because it says some told Paul, they said, "I want to hear more about this. This is very interesting to me." And they wanted to talk to him later about it. And then there was also another group of people that believed right then and there. And it says they joined Paul, and it was multiple people. It was a small group of them that believed the gospel right in that moment. And I love this passage because what this opens up is this this idea that we can sit and we can talk with people. And you're not going to, just by sharing the gospel one time to people, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone in the room is going to be like, oh yeah, that's it. But when he came into their culture and he came in and he started to discuss things with them, it opened a door for him to share the gospel. And I remember this time back. This was over 10 years ago when I was traveling on the road with the ministry, and we went all over the U.S. and Canada, and we were in Canada for something, and we were at a park, and I don't think we did a service there or like a thing there or anything. I think we were just hanging out at the park, and my friend, who is very much intellectual, very knows the Bible, very, and honestly, I think gifted and very like called to study the Word and know what the Word says in Revelation from the Word. So he liked to debate things and discuss things about the Bible. And as we were walking by this group of people sitting in the park, I can't remember exactly how it happened. If the people were like, "Who are you guys?" Because there's like 20 of us walking around, probably looking like tourists, but. My friend sat down with them and began to talk, and they definitely seemed to be like free thinkers, very like wanted to discuss things with my friend, and so they got into a discussion, and I don't know if it was quite debate level, but they were going back and forth on the Bible and different things like that. And I remember after we kind of hung around while he finished, and then when we left, we were actually talked to by like the leaders of, I can't remember if it was leaders of the church and our leaders, or if it was just the people who were leading our group. But they were like, hey, don't do that. Don't get into discussions with people. Don't get into debates with people about the Bible and about Jesus. And I heard that a lot. I've grown up in the church pretty much my entire life. And I heard that a lot. Like, don't get into these debates with people. These people just want to argue. Don't waste your time with people who just want to argue. I remember going out on the street with it's a funny term, doing why am I blanking on what it is? Praying with people to receive Jesus, and they that was one of the instructions, was don't get into debates with people about this. Just stick to kind of what we're doing and don't get into debates with people. And this always kind of has stuck out to me, like, why? Why would talking with someone ever be a waste of time? Why would conversing with someone be a waste of our time? And I think oftentimes we are scared of questions that we can't answer, perhaps, or that it will shake our faith or something like that. And I'm going to come back to this because this, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I just remember wondering, why would it ever be a waste of time to talk with someone, to hear their point of view or to hear their perspective? And I think it's this fear of questions that we can't answer, or that we'll get stuck in something and that maybe it will be confusing, or we won't know what to say or whatever, as if we can't say, I don't know, like, I don't know the answer to that question. But what is cool about this story of Paul is that he found himself confident in a room full of these elite thinkers, these philosophers. He found himself confident enough, because he had been debating with people throughout the time that he had been there. And he stood there and he shared the gospel with these smart people. Okay. These were intelligent people who thought a lot and had a lot of questions. And Paul stood there confidently and shared the message of Jesus with them. He wasn't afraid of people disagreeing with him or walking away from what he was saying. He was confident and sure of what God had called him to do, and that he had a relationship with God. You spend any time reading any of the letters in the Bible to the churches or Acts, when you read about Paul and his life, he clearly had a confident relationship with Jesus, that he knew Jesus was with him, Jesus was speaking to him, that he was walking this thing out with God, and he was confident in his purpose and in his relationship with God. So he stood there and he wasn't worried like, oh, if you disagree with me, that's okay, that's not on me. And he wasn't afraid of people walking away from what he was saying. See, because when we value people enough to sit and to listen to what they have to say without this goal of proving a point or selling this idea or a religion to them, without making sure they agree with us, because if you believe what I'm saying, then that makes me more confident in my belief of it, because it makes me more secure if I find other people who believe like me, right? That's a thing where I'm very concerned about you agreeing with me and about you seeing things the way I do, because it makes me more sure about my own faith and my own point of view or my own perspective. But when we value people more than that, more than how it makes us feel, right? When we value them enough to listen to what they have to say, that actually conveys the love of God, because conveying the love of God is not like a task or like an action. It's just who you are, right? And when you listen and when you are able to hear what they have to say, and you are able to share from the security of your own self, right? Well, Jesus in you, but you get what I'm saying. You are able to love people, and you show that. You show that love that comes from just the listening, that shows I value your perspective, whether or not you are going to take what I say and believe it, or whether or not you ever look to God. That is not the purpose of me listening to you. The purpose of me listening to you is because you're valuable and you're important, and I will learn something from listening to you, right? And I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but sometimes when we hear opposing ideas or lifestyles and beliefs, we get defensive, right? We get defensive about like, this isn't about getting everyone to agree with you or even agreeing with God. It's about loving people in a way that draws them to God for themselves, right? This isn't about come follow my idea of Christianity or do exactly what my relationship with God looks like. This is about me sharing, like, you love God, you know God, you grow in God, and you share that with others. But it only works if you're willing to hear what they want to share with you, right? And it's not about your idea or your opinion of all this. It's about loving people so that at some point all of us can be drawn to God for ourselves and develop that relationship with God for ourselves. And because the funny thing is about conversations, right? Like, it's like there are an infinite amount of life experiences, scenarios that you can experience in your lifetime, right? Or in the world, I should say that. And you couldn't even begin to possibly experience them yourself in one lifetime. There's like a million billions of things that a person could experience on this earth, right? And that's why connection and conversation is so powerful, because you have insight that I don't, because you've lived a completely or partially different life than I have. And that's why connecting with people and listening to them and really getting to a point where you are hearing what they have to say, and you are able to truly have that open heart and open mind to learn what they have to say, even if because see what this does, this will rule out any like judgmental, prideful kind of thing, because we begin to realize that we don't have all the answers, because we can be so sure, like, this is what's happened in my life, this is what's happened. And I've heard stories of, like, even if you have like people around you a little bit and you're like, you've come to this conclusion, it is black and white, this is how it is, and then you meet someone, they share a story with you, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't have it all figured out. It's like, it's that kind of thing that will keep you humble, will keep your perspective correct in this idea that you don't have all the answers to it. You don't have, it's not black and white. It's not, this is how it is and this is how it isn't. Well, the more people you talk to in the world, the more you're going to realize, you know what, this isn't actually about living the perfect lifestyle. This isn't actually about finding all of the best theology or studying and studying and studying till you have the answer. It's actually just about a relationship with God. It's actually all comes back. It all comes back to the relationship with Jesus. It all comes back to the three things to be sure of and to know: that Jesus loves you and he died for you, that he he has a purpose for you, and he rose again. He's resurrected back to life so that you can live, right? And then maybe that's two things, but your it all comes back to, well, I know I'm loved, I know I have a purpose in Jesus, and I know that that he's going to take care of me. And it's these things: that I have access to Jesus, I have access to God because of Jesus, and that is the answer to everything. And I don't mean that in the way of like every conversation ends with, well, Jesus, you know. but ultimately it comes back to this rootedness and groundedness in the love of God for you. Like we talked about earlier, like with Paul, how he had the confidence to stand before these men and bring the gospel of Jesus, because he knew he was going to walk away and his relationship with God was no different. He still had this relationship with God. He walked away knowing and that no matter what these people choose to do or decide to do, my relationship with God is still the same. This isn't shaking my relationship with God. And I think oftentimes the insecurities that we have in our own walk with God, it produces this compulsion to defend everything you believe and you do, which then produces an aversion to discussions with people, a lot of people, and having real conversation, because if they disagree with you, it's a really big deal. It shakes you. And what I love about conversations with people is that if it's shaking you, if it's shaking your faith, if it's shaking everything that you ever knew, it's a really good indicator that something wasn't rooted. And that's not a bad thing to discover. That's actually a really good thing. It's a really good thing to find out, whoa, I'm not rooted. I better get rooted. How do I get rooted in this love of God for me? That when all this stuff around me happens, or all these things that are happening to people that I know, what does it do to my relationship with God? Nothing. Nothing. God is still there. He's for you. He's with you. He's saved you. He's alive so that you can be alive. And it's this rootedness that brings a confidence and a sureness that no matter what questions people ask me, no matter what happens in circumstances in life, in people that I know, or if I hear a story that kind of shakes, because so often I think I heard people in this idea that it's bad if you talk, like don't talk to too many people, don't read too many things, because that might cause you to question things, that might cause you to doubt the Holy Spirit, that might cause you to doubt God in your life. And in reality, I think that thing that's causing you to doubt, or something that would bring such a massive question that causes all of your faith to just shake and be like, oh my God isn't real, you know, then you need to find out what is it that is going to keep me rooted in this truth that God is for me, he's with me, and he loves me. Because anything outside of that really doesn't I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I mean, Paul even said it. He's like, I've determined to know nothing among you. And I can't remember which church he was talking to, but it was Jesus Christ and him crucified. This is all about Jesus. He died and he came back to life so that you could live in connection with God. That is what every single thing is about. Genesis to now, Jesus. It's just Jesus. And when we take that confidence and that rootedness and we bring it to our conversations, we bring it to our relationships, it pulls away this idea that you're better than someone else, or that you are more spiritual than someone else, because that means nothing. Because in reality, we all have insight, we all have experience that can make our lives better with each other. We're better together, right? Like, I'm really, like, I have friends that are very different than me, and we're just we're better together because if you can work together, like, think of your marriage. Like, Terrence and I are like real different in a lot of ways. In some ways we're a lot alike, like we're both nerdy about stuff, but we're real different in a lot of ways. And like, somebody I heard him on a phone call last night with somebody, and they were telling him something super exciting, and he was like, "Whoa, that's so awesome!" Like, just going crazy. And I've heard people say he's the best person to tell good news to, and I agree, because he will just freak out about it, like truly happy, like so happy for whatever it is, even if it's kind of small. I mean, he gets excited, and I have to, I'm really excited on the inside, but I'm like, oh yeah, like, it's just really different. That's just the small way how we're different. But you think about the differences in people in your life, and how much better you are when you're together, because I can't even begin to assume or think that I have even a fraction of the answers that the entire world would need, except for Jesus, right? I know the answer, I don't have the answer, that kind of thing. But it's all about that. But if we're not rooted, and we're not grounded in this love, that we are valuable, we are loved, and Jesus wants individual relationship with us, it makes it really challenging, because then we're continually reaching and pining for this validation for something that we believe, or this I need agreement because it makes me feel better about um, what I believe, or it makes me feel more sure about what I have going on, or like about my faith, or about, church, or whatever it is. Um, and that can be really, really dangerous, because if we surround ourselves with people who agree with us and only agree with us, then you will have no idea what you're missing. You have no idea how much better your life could be, or you will have no idea when you just start to get like weird. Okay. And I'm just going to leave that there. But you can't surround yourself with only people that make you feel better about yourself, or make you feel more secure, because that security has to come from God, because that will give us the confidence that when we stand before anybody, when we have a conversation with anybody, and there should not be this fear of, well, what if they ask a question that I don't know the answer to? Well, then we just say, I don't know. And that's why it keeps you humble, because sometimes we don't know. We just don't know. But we know God, and we know Jesus died for us. We know that God loved us and wanted a relationship with us so much that he gave Jesus to make a way for us to be with him. And when that's the root, when that is where everything else comes up out of that, it is security, it is confidence, and it's love, because that love that you're so secure on inside then comes up and out, and you have it produces love to other people, and that comes in the form, specifically what we're talking about today, listening and valuing and hearing what they have to say, without trying to push an agenda with people, or without trying to make sure there's agreement. And there's one thing, I think that our society, our culture, and our country needs a lot right now. But I think we need more listeners. I think we need more people genuinely listening to understand, and not just hearing things. Okay, like, we need people to really listen, and to hear where they're coming from, instead of, how when you in a conversation you almost wait for the person to finish so you can say what you want to say. Yeah, none of that. But it comes back to that rooted and grounded in the love and the purpose of God and what he has for you. And this comes through a myriad of ways, but ultimately, and I say this a lot, but it's so personal. It's so personal for you to just talk to God, and maybe you realize, wow, I don't have that. Maybe I don't have that assurance that God loves me. Talk to him about that. Be like, God, I don't feel love. I don't know what that looks like. Can you, and I get that can be hard because that takes faith. That takes faith to take that step and be like, God, I don't feel love. I don't feel like you've got me. I know you say you do, but I don't feel that. I don't know that. And I really believe when we take that step of faith to go to God with that and we say, God, help me. He will. He will. Every time he will. And I believe that. And it may not look like we thought, and it may not come in the specific answer and way that we thought, but I believe truly he will answer you when you go to him for help, and when you are honest and you say, God, I need help to understand how you feel about me or what you think towards me. I need help with this. And I believe that he will answer you, and be okay with it being a journey, because this is a journey. I have not, it's cool because Paul says that when we're rooted and grounded in love, that we will begin. This is how much of a journey this is, okay? That when we get that rootedness, we will begin to comprehend the height and depth and I can't even remember all the words you, but the expansiveness of God's love for you and his purpose for you. And so this is a process. This is a journey. This is a lots of steps kind of a thing, but it starts with that love of God, that God viewed humanity as so valuable in our brokenness, in our sin. Even while we were still in sin, God loved us. He saw us and he saw value in us. And when we fully understand the value that he's placed on us, value enough to send Jesus to die for you, for me, value enough to raise Jesus back to life so that you can live a full life, that you will have eternal life. That's value. That's a high value. And so I just encourage you to talk to God about this. If this is something that you want more rootedness in the love of God, talk to him about it. Do what you know to do, even if it's just a quick conversation with God, or if it's reading a book, or if you want to, I think the book of John, it oozes to use a gross word, it oozes the love of God, the book of John. And if you need a starting place in the Bible, I recommend John, the book of John, because it overflows. John truly seemed to have a revelation of the love that Jesus had for him, and it shows. I think it shows. And so we can't be afraid of our faith getting shaken. We can't be afraid of people asking us questions that we don't know the answer to. Because if it shakes something, then it's a good like, hey, check on this. Needs to be rooted, because it was never rooted in the first place, right? And that's good. That's not a bad thing. And that's why there's never any condemnation, because it's like, whoa, glad I saw that. Now I can actually have something real, right? Right? This isn't about how we look. This is about the rootedness in our hearts. And so I appreciate that, Tammy. Okay, so we're gonna flow right into, I'm sure, communion, talking about Jesus. And so get your communion stuff ready. We're gonna take communion, and we basically talked about all this with Jesus and the value he placed on humanity to give up his life. And that is important to remember too, that his life was not taken from him, that he gave freely. And so as we take this bread and remember it as the body of Jesus that was broken for us. It was broken for um, our uh, ability, or our opportunity rather, to live life. It was broken so that our life doesn't have to be broken. It was broken so that we could live an abundant life full of a relationship with God. And so we're going to break the bread just like his body that was broken for us. And we take this in remembrance of him and what he did for us. And then we're going to take the cup that is a symbol of Jesus' blood that was shed for us to be blameless before God. And just a reminder, when Jesus died, that curtain in that old temple that separated God from man, that curtain was torn in two, which gave access, free access for humanity to talk with God, to be a part, to reconnect with God. And so that's what this blood, this cup signifies, the blood that was spilled for our blamelessness before God. And that's why in all of this, that's why it doesn't matter if we don't have all the answers, we don't know exactly what to say. Sometimes things get confusing, and sometimes things get complex. But one thing remains the same, and one thing will remain true for all eternity, and that is the love that God has for you, and the blamelessness that you walk in before God because of Jesus's love and his blood that was spilled for you. Amen. Amen. So wrapping this up, this is it's all about Jesus, right? It's all about the being rooted and grounded in the love that God has, and just to know that. I'm going to take the offering real quick, just in closing. um, Thank you, Justin, for that. The offering you can give by text. You can text any dollar amount to the number 84321, or you can give online at freedomchurch.com/give, or you can mail checks to P.O. Box 1253, Maple Grove, Minnesota 55311. And those are the three ways you can give. And please just whatever God has put on your heart. Like there's we have been able to help people with the money that you guys have given, and so thank you for your generosity and all that. So those are the three ways you can give. And thank you guys for joining us this morning. We love you. We're so excited. Hit the thumbs up, Anthony. I don't know if you have a thumbs up on your screen. So we are so excited. Next week, don't forget, we are meeting in person next Sunday, same time, 10 a.m. And the information was in the chat. If you need it, hit us up on Facebook, the Facebook group, whatever. We'll get you all the information that you need. And we're so excited to see you guys next week. Love you. Have a great week.